when you get into sort of this realm of like being a political like commentator, like I am, well, I feel like I'm becoming, it's really what I am really. You do get into in a position where you have to look at what is currently going on in politics, and you look at maybe what is currently going on, you look at past events to predict maybe the future actions of the government, or even the future actions of, shall we say, in this case, political parties. And when it comes to this, sometimes you're not always 100% right. You're not always 100% right. But I'll tell you what, when you are right, it's good. It's really good to be right in these type of situations, especially when I only made these predictions yesterday. For those of you who weren't on the Good Morning Walk yesterday, why weren't you? We went over the fact that especially the Northern Research Group, the new grouping of Northern MPs who won the Red Wall seats, are increasingly annoyed with Boris Johnson. Not only have we had the constant missteps under coronavirus, which they are, all the Tory party, shall we say, are angry at, but you've got the sleaze scandal, which they are not happy with at all because they feel that they are being painted with this exact same brush. You have the cancelling not only of the eastern leg of HS2, which would have been a massive boost to the infrastructure of this area, but also the cancelling of the Northern Rail powerhouse, basically announcing, as we've seen other people, if you watched the news recently, you'll have seen a guy called Gareth Dennis, a rail expert on like Sky News, BBC, doing the rounds, basically saying, hey, look, they haven't announced anything new in this project. All this money they've announced is already stuff that's already been pre-planned and been there in the works. So none of this is new stuff. So the Red Wall Tory MPs are currently up in arms about this. And the fact that what we're going to go into here is basically a threat of full-blown Tory rebellion to a major Tory policy agenda is unbelievable. I've said before that the Boris Johnson is currently keeping the coalition that he has built in the Tory party of all these disparate groups of all different ideologies, wants and needs together by the pure force of his personality. That can't last forever, and sooner or later, as we've seen this in the past 2 weeks, again, these events in the past 2 weeks of what have caused this. So make no mistake, this wouldn't have happened a month ago. This wouldn't have happened 2 months ago. This is only happening because of the events of the last 2 weeks. And I feel definitely firm in saying that potentially you are going to see more rebellions by different groups in the party going forward. So anyway, let's jump into the article and find out more about why they're essentially so unhappy about this. And it is down to the fact that they feel like they are going to lose their seats. Because again, you can tell so by the fact that even they themselves refer to their seats as the Red Wall seats. So let's jump into this article then today. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So here we have it. This comes from The Guardian. The title of called Boris Johnson told to dump plan for social care changes or face Tory rebellion. Senior Conservatives on Saturday urged Johnson to ditch the plans that would see many of England's poorest pensioners paying for more for their social care or risk being forced by his own MPs into a humiliating U-turn. The Prime Minister is still reeling from the sleaze allegations and fury among the Red Wall MPs over his scaled-back rail investment in the north, and he's facing another potential damaging common rebellion at the hands of an increasingly mutinous party. We've said before, just yesterday, how ungovernable the Tory party is becoming. The Observer learned that several Northern Tory MPs took to an emergency call set up by Care Minister Gillian Keegan on Friday afternoon, during which she is said to have been completely monstered by backbenchers complaining that their plans were unfair and had not been fully explained or even thought through. According to MPs on the call, former Tory Chief Whip Mark Harper challenged Keegan to produce more detailed analysis of the plans, which neither she nor the two civil servant present were able to do. Harper then said she would not be good enough for her to produce the details on the day of the vote, which is expected to be this Monday or Tuesday. So expect this to be news, because this will be big news if Johnson gets defeated on this. Tory whips are understood to have been told by several senior Tory MPs as well that they are considering voting against the plans or just abstaining. So it's not just the new ones. We've got senior Tory MPs who are saying they are just going to vote against the plans or they're just going to abstain. So this has completely damaged Johnson's credibility as the Tory leader here. So Tory MPs are considering voting against the plans, abstaining, or unless they are amended to make sure that pensioners would not be forced to sell their homes to pay for social care, as Johnson has previously promised. And again, even if these plans do pass, this is going to be yet another nail in the coffin that other parties can use. See, Johnson and the Tories make all these promises, yet during their tenure, they haven't kept a single one of their promises. So this will just be bad news all around. Even if this does pass, it won't look good for them. It will not look good for them at all. So why are they so angry about this? Well, we're just going to jump further down here, because again, it's all about their electability. So this is why it gets into it here. So Tory WhatsApp groups were said to be full of comments from MPs, including many in the red wall seats, talking about a potential rebellion unless the government backs down. Last week, when MPs' minds were forced on more troubles over the sleaze and decision to axe the eastern section of the high-speed rail line to Leeds, ministers announced changes to social care plans, which would mean poorer pensioners would not, after all, be able to count means-tested payments by the state for their care towards the social total cap of £86,000 for an individual. It is believed the change was made under pressure from the Treasury. Again, interesting things from these. The fact that this has seemed to have come from the Treasury means that is Rishi Sunak on manoeuvres to oust Boris? Does Rishi Sunak know that Boris losing on these may start a cascading effect, that everything else that we've seen for the past 2 weeks may just force him out? I've said before, a long time ago, when we were making predictions about when Johnson would leave, one of the predictions I made was that Johnson might just sort of see out his term, but leave before the next general election, because he comes under so much pressure by the MPs to just force him to leave so that they can have someone new stand. It is very, very possible we may get to that scenario. But we'll have to see, because we know Johnson is not content. We've heard from other sources close to Johnson, he is not a happy bunny. He's not a happy bunny at all, as you can see from this photo here. And we'll go into this further, because this gets into even more of why these red wall Tory MPs are so annoyed about this. Because remember, the older section of voters vast majority vote for the Conservatives. So if you're now alienating a vast majority of your voting base, your seat's not secure anymore. And you can even tell them by the fact that they still refer to them as red wall seats. So, and many of these, like I say, guys do not want to be one-term MPs. Many of them who backed Boris specifically on like the promises of Brexit or all the other stuff that he promised. What are their chances again of being a Tory MP when they did all this and they delivered nothing? It ruins their chances forever, possibly, of ever be trying to get into another, not only a different Tory seat, but even again winning that Tory seat in the future. Because, well, the voters will turn around and said, well, last time you promised all that stuff and you didn't deliver, and you had a massive majority and you didn't deliver on anything. So it is damaging for them. I mean, it says it right here. Of the 54 seats the Conservative won from Labour in 2019, 41 have an average of house price below the level that is considered to be needed for this cap. So, for example, the average house price in Burnley is about £90,000, in Darlington is 135, and in Durham Northwest is 120. So this is going to massively affect all these, people who do this. So he's going to affect them. And if you think about that, these where are they now? The 54 seats that they won, that's a significant chunk of the Tory party into an open rebellion. And I think we're going to potentially see more rebellions going forward, because I think officially we can really see that they've had enough of Boris. And I think we are starting to see maybe the winds of change blow through. Maybe, as we said before, like that sleaze scandal was maybe just the straw that broke the camel's back of all the other stuff that's happened previously. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and we could be seeing maybe the end of Boris. Maybe this is the start of the true downfall. But again, this has been predicted before, and of course it hasn't happened. But there's a lot of other people, commenters, are saying this somehow feels different this time. So again, we're going to have to see what happens. But again, it's definitely going to be an interesting week ahead. Definitely going to be an interesting week ahead. So please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for, again, probably what could be a very interesting week ahead for Johnson and the Tories. And also down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And of course, we'll see you